Oh, good.
If I could ask everybody to mute themselves, that would be marvellous. And I'd like to say good evening to everybody. This is RPS East Midlands. My name's Stewart Wall. I'm the regional organiser. And tonight we've got Gerry Coe. FRPS, FRPS, FRPS. It goes on, doesn't it, Gerry? You've got quite a few. And if you've looked at Gerry's website, I think I could probably spend the next hour and a half just talking about Gerry's fellowships. He's got numerous of them. He's done so well over the years. Hopefully you've looked at his website because there's some fantastic images on there. I'm just going to give you a plug, Gerry. It's iPhone-art.uk.
Yeah.
But I'll put that in the chat line as well.
Okay.
If you've got any questions, please feel welcome to put them in the chat line as we go. But if you can send those just to me, because it can get irritating if the chat jumps up in front of everybody all the time. It sort of drags concentration away from what Gerry is telling us. So Gerry, just as a brief introduction, on Gerry's website, and you can probably add a few years to this now. I don't know when you wrote this, but you've been a professional photographer for 60 years, Gerry. Is that about right, or a few more now?
Yes, and unfortunately, yes. I mean,
yeah.
Really, I'm really only 35, honestly, you know.
I was going to say, did you start when you were about 2 or 3? And very similar. I've done similar things, but not quite so that long. So it's really interesting reading your bio there: portrait photography, commercial, industrial photography, 10 by 8, 35mm digital, and now iPhone. And I think we've seen a really exciting period in photography where it has changed so much. And looking at your bio, you've caught up with that. You've kept sort of pace with the changes, which is absolutely fantastic. So thank you ever so much, everybody, for coming. We've got people from all over the world, Gerry, come to listen to you. So I'm now going to hand over to you and let you take over the meeting. Thank you very much, Gerry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation, guys. I know I see a few names on there that I recognize and have known over the years. So it's nice to see everybody again. Yes, okay. I'm going to go through this here and really sort of, it's a progression. It's almost to show you where I've come from and where I'm at now. And for me in photography, it's all about expanding your experiences, really. What can you do? And if there's something that you take from it that you get enjoyment out of it, or you just see a few pretty pictures, that's okay by me as well. So I'm going to share my screen here a moment. And where's that gone? Let's see, down the bottom here. And okay. All right. So
that's perfect.
That okay?
We're looking at Gerry Coe photographer screen. Your intro.
That's okay. That's fine then. Okay. Yes. That's really that's me. That's it. That's what I am. I'm a photographer, and it's all I've really done. And there's the reason why I became a photographer, because I literally can't paint, I can't draw, I can't sing, and I can't dance. So there wasn't an awful lot left for me. But I started out in photography at really about 12-year-old. And this was the second camera I got. The first camera was a Ilford Sportmatic or Sportsman that I had in the family home. And I started to use that at about 12-year-old, trying to take photographs of a neighbour's dog. They're all out of focus because it was a 3 metre or 1 metre focusing distance was, for me, I needed in there for the arty shots, and they're all blurred. Mind you, they would probably be very acceptable these days, you know. But having said that, I persuaded my father to help me, and he helped me buy this Helena 35X, and that was what I really started off with. And then I progressed on to Yashika mat, 2 1/4 square, 6 by 6. And from that, at about the time that I had that, just before I was 16, I went to work for a photographer in Belfast who was weddings and portraits. And I went to work for him. And while I was working for him, I entered a competition here in practical photography when I was 17-year-old, and I got first prize for the guy with the nice quiff of hair. He told me he has none left now at all, but that happens to a lot of us. So what happens is, anyway, that was 5 guineas, £5 and 5 shillings. That was almost 2 weeks' wages at that time. So it was quite substantial for me. I then went on to work for a commercial industrial firm, Robert Anderson, and you see here the whole company and everything else. I was in charge of black and white darkroom printing and chant enlargements. The guy just behind me, that's me in the white coat, in the middle, but the guy just behind me there, Tom Murphy, he was a great friend, and I did all his wedding and everything else, and eventually set up his own business. Unfortunately, during our troubles, he had a studio on the Antrim Road in Belfast, and 2 gunmen came in and shot him and left a bomb in the place. That's the sort of nature it was in those days as well too. This one here was while I was working with Robert Anderson. This was the very first heart ambulance in the world. The defibrillator was invented really by what's his name? Pantridge, Professor Pantridge, and this then was put into the heart ambulance. And I arranged to go and take photographs of it, and that was the very first ambulance in the world that had one. And we're doing commercial aerial stuff, all types of things. After a while with Robert Anderson's, I moved on, and sort of a wee bit of in between period of doing some just work for different photographers. And Leslie Stewart, the guy painting there, brilliant portrait photographer, but he asked me to come along and do a commercial business along with the guy in the middle, Ralph Friars, brilliant artist, and Leslie's son over on the other side. Look at that hair and sideburns. Ooh, wish I could get those back again. Anyway, and eventually, over a number of years, after I left Leslie, I worked freelance for a lot of people. I worked for the Northern Ireland Tourist Board and different things. But I actually went into business with my bank manager, and we opened up the Frame and Picture Centre here in Belfast. Now, I was still doing photography, but it wasn't the main one. The framing became the main one, but I was still doing weddings and things like that. Eventually, the gallery that we had in the front 2 rooms, they closed that down, and I decided to take that over as a full-time studio. And that's where the name Lasting Image comes in. This is where I started to do my portraiture. And what I did with the portraits was basically typically family portraits. I was one of the first people to get rid of the old brown backgrounds and things like that. Just went for pure white backgrounds, keeping it dead simple. Using just family, the kids, in whatever way we wanted to do. And again, there was nothing what I would term, terribly different in certain ways, but I was just trying to do black and white. I got rid of colour. because I couldn't get what I wanted from the lab. Sometimes the cropping was a bit off or something. So I decided not to bother. I printed always all my own black and white, and I knew what it was going to turn out with. I had customers come to me and they said, Gerry, could you do some colour photographs? And I said, no, I'm afraid I can't. You'll have to go to an ordinary photographer for one of those. So, that was the way I looked at it. And that was my unique selling point there. Something's stuck. Oh no, there we are. And this is the sort of thing that I would do. Dead simple. Lighting was simple. Everything else, and again, different backgrounds. Keeping it black. Close up, strong images. Now, this is the guy Leslie Stewart I was saying to you about earlier on. And I got this portrait. I took this one of him in my studio, and Leslie always thought it was the best portrait he'd ever had taken. And I was really delighted with that because he's a brilliant portrait photographer himself. And so what happened was, anyway, I gave him a pile of prints and everything else. And years later, Leslie died. And after the funeral, we all in the Belfast Telegraph, there was an obituary with my photograph in it. And I thought, oh, great, that's lovely. Leslie got to use that. And when I went along to the house after the funeral, I was saying to everybody who was coming to me, saying, Gerry, that was wonderful for you to get all that obituary and the photograph into the Telegraph. I says, I didn't do it. And they all started asking around. And then we figured out that Leslie had written his own obituary and sent the photograph in with it years beforehand. So it was all prepared and everything else. He was always a showman. Another Tom Carr, great artist, used to come in for framing all the time. And a lovely man. And Jimmy Ellis, maybe some of you know him. Z cars and things like that in the early days. And Jimmy and I knew a lot of people. I'd asked a friend to bring him in, and we knew a lot of people. He never shuts up. He's just bop, 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 bop. I had to tell him, for goodness sake, Jim, shut up, will you? And I got a half a dozen pictures, and he ended up using these ones in his promo cards as well. Mary Peters, again, early one of Mary Peters, in a local park near the gym she ran at that time. Oh, this is just a guy when we're away taking photographs in Italy and just playing on the street. And this is the style of picture, though, that I became known for, which basically high key. So what I was doing was I was lighting the backgrounds generally, and I was lighting the subject, and I was trying to keep it very, very light and airy. And eventually, this is the sort of style that really came to the fore. I was printing all these myself. I used Kent Miller document art paper, which is a single weight paper, but it had a lovely texture onto it. And then with a bit of the grain of film, they almost looked like very, very fine pencil drawings. And many people brought me in pictures saying, could I do drawings of them? Obviously, I couldn't. It was the photography. And they started out, they weren't quite as light, and they got lighter and lighter and lighter. And sometimes even the customers came back and said, Gerry, could you print it a wee bit darker? It's just too light for us. But this is the sort of thing that they're classic actually, because I have customers of 25 years ago, in fact, just recently, come back to me, and sometimes they couldn't afford them at the time. And they've come back to me and said, you still have the negatives? I do. All my negatives are up in the roof space. And so I end up taking these pictures again, and I'll scan them now and give them prints, so they always love a classic look like this. And again, brilliant, young women generally were fine and children were fine with it. Wasn't really suitable for men, although mind you, I did a very good one of Ray Lowe in that sort of style with his big white beard and everything else. And his wife came back and said it was the only picture she was hanging in the house of all the ones that were done at that time of him. But and again, maybe sometimes close in, just going a wee bit more abstract. Now this one here, Gerry, she was in for me to do a pencil portrait, like the other ones. And this is all film, and I was using Hasselblad. And what happened was she just stood there and she just looked at me like that. And I just went, hold it, hold it, hold it, don't move, don't move, don't move. And I clicked it once, wound the shutter on quickly and clicked it a second time, and then did a third one. The middle one was this one where the two background lights didn't go off, and I just loved it. And the parents loved it, and she loved it. So we just kept it as it was. And that one actually did me quite well. That went into the Kentmere Awards, and that got me the first prize in that, £1,000. So I was quite pleased with that wee job, you know. And then I used Agfa film a lot, and whenever I was using Agfa film, that's my picture, by the way, on the front there. But whenever I was using Agfa film all the time, so I was putting into the Agfa awards and everything else, and I was winning things pretty well monthly, getting something accepted and things like that. But then this picture, high key portrait, this girl, Kira, and she came in, I put that in, and it won the UK and Ireland portrait photography. And now, apart from anything else, I got £2,500 for it. Which was very, very nice. It also allowed me to go over to Barcelona, where the European finals were on, from all the, UK, Ireland, Germany, wherever, anybody that was using it. Unfortunately, it didn't quite win the major one, but I was very happy with that one indeed. Well, I'm still taking film here. This is way with some friends. You'll hear more about. I've always loved Valencia. It's a super city, and it's brilliant here. The science and arts, I think modern buildings, fabulous area, black and white as well. Very lucky. First night we got there, took this shot, and there was not a ripple. Every night after that, there was just enough breeze that ruined it a wee bit. But it was a fabulous place. If you haven't been, go there. It really is brilliant. And again, all made up of these wee tiny tiles, all plastered in. And this is about this time that I did my very first fellowship panel, which got the BIPP or MPNS WPP. But I put it in the RPS, but they didn't like the breadth of it. They thought that it needed, it held together better. So I had to substitute basically the top 6 images of flowers with other pictures that I had taken, which I hadn't put into this panel, put it in, and I got the RPS with that one there as well. So that was the very first time I'd ever done that. My friends, any of you remember Jim Moreland, a brilliant black and white photographer? Unfortunately not with us anymore. Jim and I always had a bit of competition going on, and he was the first one to get a fellowship for the BIPP in 2 years previously, 97. And he did his all hand printed black and white and everything else. And they all said, "Oh, Jim, there's nobody else who's going to be able to hand print and produce work like that and get a fellowship out of it. Definitely no one." And but our friend Leslie Stewart says to him, "Maybe Gerry might." And 2 years later, I had a go at it, and that was the one that I got it for me. And that there's the old Peter Crucian Award from the BIPP, and just on the far right down there is Jim's name. And then a strange thing happened. I started taking photos with my telephone. Um, well, yeah, I know. Not quite that one. Actually, this one, the iPhone 4. I bought this in 2010, and it wasn't for photography or anything else, because anybody who started with that phone, you know how awful the lenses were, how the um, file sizes were awful, everything about it was awful. But what happened was this group is in the very centre of it there with his wife is Dan Burkholder. And if you anybody not heard of Dan Burkholder, but he is an innovator of using mobile phones. And Dan's from America, and he came over to Northern Ireland, and he was doing um, a workshop on platinum palladium printing. These are all the people that came to it. And by the way, I'm involved in Bangor and North Down Camera Club, and that is our view from outside our premises, and that's Belfast Lock behind and everything else. So what we've got there is Dan with all the people that came to this thing, and Dan went back and he was producing all these pictures of um, around the Catskills where he lived and things like that, and lovely textures onto them. And I said, Dan, what are you doing with these lovely pictures? And he turned around and he said, selling them, Gerry. And I thought, there must be something in this, Lark. So I started doing things as well. Let's see, stuck again. And this is me with my 2011 in Tuscany. And there I am with my Nikon. But I made a metal cover for the iPhone 4, and I made a wee stuck together for a cold shoe, and I put it on top of the camera. So what I was doing there was taking with the Nikon and then backing up with the iPhone. That was on the first day. On the second day, I was taking photographs with my iPhone and backing up with a Nikon. On the third day, I didn't bother bringing the Nikon with me. I just kept using the iPhone. And on that same trip, what happened was that I woke up very early one morning, and this is in a wee town in Tuscany called Pienza. If anybody's been there, it's a lovely wee spot. And from our hotel, you looked over the valley, and I could see the farmer there in the field. And I had my Nikon, and I took very long focal length to try and get him in. And I got that picture of him and this one as well. And they were done on the Nikon, but I was busy thinking. I was looking at my phone and thought, what can I do? So I walked down the road and I took that one. And then I took this one. And I thought they look quite good. Now, at that time, I was using Hipstamatic, still going. And there are so many combinations of lenses, filters, everything on this here. But I was experimenting with this Hipstamatic all the time, and I tried many different things to do. But I came around to maybe a series, but I would have taken maybe 20 different pictures of this image, well-known image in Tuscany, those trees. And I was trying to get different effects. You can almost see I've always liked the sort of painterly look about things. And you see here where I'm getting the painterly edges, which I quite like about it and everything else. There's even a canvas texture on there as well. Now this was we one on the same trip away same trip away. We are traveling the back roads, the white roads, and we saw this tree in the distance. So obviously we all stopped, and we got out. All the other guys with me, they got out their tripods out and their big cameras up and everything else. But I was just using my iPhone, and that was the first one I took, and I thought that's quite good. I moved a wee bit closer, and I got this shot, and May 81, by the way, is nothing to do with when it was taken. That's just sometimes a random number that comes up when you're using the particular app or the combination with the Hipstamatic. But I love the wee borders. That's why I always quite used it. But on the way home on the plane, a friend of mine sitting beside me, and he had got his big camera and everything else. He says, "What can you do with that?" I mean, it's so small a file size. It's not really brilliant quality or anything else. And if you look in there, you'll see over shortening and everything else a bit into it. But I says, "Oh well, look, what I'll do is," so I got it out and put it through about 2 or 3 apps to give me more textures and different things. And I ended up with it like this, which transformed it and gave me a totally different image. And that one, I thought, oh, I like that one. He went, oh, it's not bad. I thought, no, I quite like that. So that wee picture there, I decided to enter what we have, the Royal Ulster Academy, which is the same as the RA in England or in Scotland, things like that. And I sold 12 images. And they're only supposed to be 10 limited edition, but I sold 12. So that got me about £1,500 just on from the RUA. Oh, sorry, back again. I think I've got one out of sequence here. It'll come up later. But it also won a prize as well in a competition, which I think you'll see later on. It's been used for book covers and everything else. But that wee picture alone earned me about £3,500. So I was quite pleased with that, you know. Now, I went away to Cuba, and this was a weird thing really happened with it, because what happened was that we got booked into the hotel. Next morning, I woke up and looked at my phone and went to take a picture. The camera wasn't working. Nothing would work. Obviously, if the main camera isn't working, all other apps or cameras won't work either. And I couldn't figure it out. Didn't know what was happening. And if anybody's been to Cuba, you'll know you're not exactly going to get onto the internet to find
You
out
hear that?
where the problem might be. So what I had to do was, excuse me, sorry, just getting over a cold. Luckily I had with me a small camera. I think still have it here. It's a wee Lumix, you know, so I have that with me. And started taking pictures with that. I just took whatever I would have taken with the phone, different things, and people in the street, you know, just whatever I could see. Now, I took obviously the classic cars, and I took this one. Now, I decided, well, there's a photograph here, but not as it is. And I thought I'll go back and I'll start playing around here a wee bit. And I do not do any processing on the Lightroom or Photoshop. All processing is done on my phone. And this is what I turned it into. I turned it into more like a painterly type image, abstract, slightly impressionistic look about it. And I quite like that, because that sort of changed the whole aspect of what I was doing. Again, another one taken in the street, you know, not a great photograph, striped jumper behind, not very good or anything else, but I turned it into that. So I was able to get, you know, him separated from all that background, but he still got all the colours, flowers and everything else. And using different apps. Now, one of the apps used, you can take a note, Repix, REPIX. That was one of the painterly ones I used. So, but we can talk about these at any time. Now we're in Marrakesh, and my wife and I were there, and we're walking along the outside of the walls. Now, anybody's been Marrakesh and they know what the traffic's like. Trying to cross it, even at crossings, they don't pay any attention to them. So you cannot really sort of cross the road anywhere, especially if it's broad. So we were looking for a narrow place to cross. But I'd seen this guy from way, way, way back walking along, and I thought there has to be a photograph here somewhere. So as we got up to this, I thought that gateway ideal, and he was just about almost still on the footpath when I saw it. But then he was stepping off, and I was trying to get this picture in between the lorries and the cars and everything else. And eventually I got that picture, and I thought, that's great, that's what I wanted. And what I did was, that's what I turned it into. Got rid of everything, and again, using some different painterly apps. Um, by the way, I generally try not to use just one app. I normally use 2 or 3 different apps for different things to try and get the effect that I want. This is walking back to our wee riad we were in, and this wee fella was just standing there. My wife was very worried about him because of all the traffic. And so what happened was, anyway, that I just took that quick photograph of him. I didn't really do anything with it, just really a bit of netting, a bit of slight difference in the colour, but more or less everything as it was, because I quite liked the look of him just standing there in the sun. This is in Germany. I was photographing a building, but I noticed these 2 girls very much into themselves, and I just moved closer. And as I got closer, one of them noticed me, but I got the photograph anyway. It really is the only colour. I should have gone over and got more photograph of them, just normal portrait type portraits, But and this Lisbon, anybody been there will see the Vasco da Gama Bridge, and I'd done some photographs. I think there'll be one coming up. But what I've done here, I saw these guys all on their skateboards, and I thought maybe there's a photograph here. Well, I got him, I got a few others, but I got him. I quite liked the way he was, but I decided painterly and then flipped it. So it turned it into, again, something a wee bit different, more abstract about it, and probably good for a record cover or something like that. And again, this is one of the trams in Lisbon, and everybody else was looking down. There was just that one wee face. I probably would have liked maybe her face to find a wee bit better, but either way, I quite like the effect. I'm a great lover of the Impressionists, and I love the big broad brush strokes, things like that. That really appeals to me. Now there's the Vasco da Gama. So there's, just to show you, I take normal photographs as well. The Vasco da Gama Bridge, and all the guys were taking photographs. They had all their big cameras. I just used the iPhone. Can't remember which one it was now, 8, 6, 8, something or other. And anyway, I just took that straight. Now, I mean, nowadays I could take that using reheld, which is part of the reflex group of images, reheld, and I could have held that there maybe propped up slightly for about 10 seconds, and that means I would have got a nice blurry water. Otherwise, you could use on the phone itself the live feature nowadays as well, and that will blur out the water for you as well. So I'll try and show these things at the end a bit here. This is again Lisbon. We were getting back to our hotel after a night out in the bar, and I wasn't crawling on my hands and knees, I promise you. I really did put the phone down low to try and get that. This is the tram tracks that you would see the 28 tram coming along here. Our hotel was just a couple of doors up there on the right. This is Belfast. the Titanic building, and in the background we've got the big yellow cranes. And I just passing by one day and I happened to see with the moon out and the crane and everything else, and so I just grabbed that sort of shot. I could probably play around with it a lot more to brighten the building, but I didn't actually really want to do that with it. If nobody's been to Belfast, or if you're coming to Belfast, give yourself a day to go round that. I've been in it 4 or 5 times and I'm still picking up things I've missed, but it is really, really good. And again, another one, Titanic. In the front of it, they have the great big steel plates that used to be used for the ships. You know, they're what, inch thick, whatever they are. Um, and they have the word Titanic across the front of this building, freestanding. And that was looking through, I think, the T of the Titanic. This one here was taken in Croatia. When my wife and I out for a walk to this hotel, forgotten the name of it. And as we were walking along, I just saw these shadows. I love the shadows. And just as I was about to take it, the person stood up and walked away. And I thought the figure just helped make that picture. You'll see another one this later, but this is Rotterdam and the cube houses. Now these are all yellow. That's the angle that everybody photographs them from. And so, yes, then I tried to do something a bit different, but you will see something a bit later on how we're going. Now we're into Amsterdam, and the same time as the Rotterdam one, and we're wandering around, and the modern buildings really were. Some of my friends are very much into architecture, and so this is sort of one of the places that we played around with angles and pictures and various things. This one here, we're traveling all over the world in some ways. This one here now is in where was it? Bologna. I think that's where we were. And we decided to take the wee city tram, and it took you on a winding streets right the way through and way up. And there was this I think maybe it was a monastery or something like that. Anyway, hospital or something like that, way up in the top of the hills. Now, I didn't even get out of the tram. It was going a bit fast. It stopped for a second. There was a clearing in the trees, and I grabbed a shot. And what happened was this image then, when I got it back, I put it through a program called Small Worlds, which creates a circular sort of image. And then I added the water, and I'm going to show that again later, along with the textures into it as well. Just trying every way that I can to see if there's something a wee bit different. Now we're back in Berlin again, and they look, well, that was the tower, but this looks like as if it's going up. It's actually was a roof, pointed roof going into the entrance of the place, but it looks like the tour going up. And so that was the sort of thing that, again, I enjoy taking everything. There's nothing that I don't enjoy taking, so I try taking plenty. Again, Germany, Bundestag up on the roof, and quite like the angles on this here. And I just thought I'd leave the German flag with a wee bit of colour into it, and I think it comes up reasonably well like that. And again, I think this one, I do have the name of it somewhere, but I can't remember it was what it was. But taking this here, and just after I took it, about 30 school kids all piled in around it. So I was very lucky to get it as it was. And this, we're back to Ireland now, and this one here was, excuse me, taken in Glendalough, which is well known with a round tower and everything else. But I couldn't get what I would term a decent picture of the round tower, make it different. But as I was walking down, there's a church and then the graveyard and all around here. And I saw these two headstones had fallen over the pathway. And the wee hole in between them is actually quite small. But so I got down on my knees and started taking that picture. And I loved the drama of the sky and everything else and the angles, and it really worked beautifully. And when I finished taking the photograph, I realised there was about 6 or 8 very large Americans behind me. And now I crawled through it, that gap, but believe you me, they weren't going to get through it, so they had to go around the long way. This is fairly recent. My wife and I went to Sicily, and we spent a day in Palermo, and then we went down onto the coast. And oh, there again, name's gone. Anyway, this is the very last day. I was waiting to go home. We were waiting for the bus to pick us up. About an hour or so left, and I thought I'll walk down to the beach. There'd been no wind about, but these great big waves were piling in. And I did a whole series of pictures of them. Quite honestly, I could have stayed there for another 2 or 3 hours taking pictures. But that was, on the limited time, that was the best one I got out there. Now we're back to Ireland again. I always, I love clouds and I love drama and a lot of the pictures. And this one here was County Mayo, and what that's called Doolock, D-O-O. And I've seen it spelled different ways, which may be the Irish. But anyway, we were driving along a valley, and I could see all these wonderful clouds, and I thought there has to be a photograph with mountains somewhere along here. And as we drove up the hill, we came to the crest of the hill, and there in front of me was Doolock. And I just pulled the car into where I could stop it and got out with the phone. And just that wee bit of light, that's what I was wanting to capture. That wee bit of light in the water just lifts it. Without that, it would be quite dead. But that just lifts it enough for me. And it really, really quite worked. Strong, dramatic. This one is very close enough to me, about a 20-mile drive. Town called Portaferry. It's where Strangford Lough, if you don't know Northern Ireland, but Strangford Lough, big bit of waterway, and opens to the sea. But one side's Portaferry, Strangford, and one side's Portaferry. And we drive down there occasionally. And there's what you would term a linear walk through a forest. And on the way to it, this field had been obviously everything had been taken out, but all the straw and bits and what's left before they're ploughed in again next season were still left there. And I like the look of that, but it was the 2 tracks going up over the hill, tractor tracks there, that really, really made the picture for me. Otherwise, I think it might have been a wee bit bland, but I quite like that one. This one here, Panorama. This was taken. This was taken on the iPhone, but they're all separate photographs. So what I was doing was I was going click, 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 middle, click, 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 bottom, click, 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 click. So I was doing that, and there used to be a program called Auto Stitch, and Auto Stitch really was brilliant. No longer available. I think Google or somebody bought it out, and then this just stopped it, and you couldn't get it. After a while, it just would never work. But I loved those edges. They weren't even the way. If we do a panorama now with our phones, then what will happen is that it's a straight edge. But I prefer ragged edges or broken edges a wee bit. And what this is actually, it's the Antrim coast from down, that won't work, no. Anyway, almost in front of you and down the wee sweep down towards the right, that's Chance Causeway. And if you look away over to the other side on the left, Port Rush. On the other side, then you've got Whitehead, Fairhead, and actually where an awful lot of the Game of Thrones stuff was filmed along here. So that was quite like that wee one. This is what it's like trying to take a photograph, as many of you know. That's me with a tripod, trying to get a photograph on very windy conditions. This is Fannet Head in Donegal, most northerly part of Ireland with the lighthouse. And I myself, two friends, John Muskelly, Hugh Rooney, and we had Joe Cornish over for a weekend, and Joe wanted to go up to Donegal to get some photographs, and this was one of the places we stopped, and so we're all there, but we had to be very careful because literally just over where you see it going down, it could blow you in there very easily. And a photographer lost his life there about 3 or 4 years ago. He fell over the edge, and there's no way you could get him out. And that was that. So you had to be very careful. I put the phone on the tripod, but it was so windy. It was waving around like mad. I couldn't use it. So my long exposures were out. But what I did do was I got that slightly different angle and took it up the steps running down to the water. And the light, by the way, was an added extra. So it wasn't quite like that. Now, while we were out with Joe, we went to various beaches and we went down. Joe, that was somewhere to my left. My other two, Hugh and John Muskelly, were slightly nearer the shoreline or the water, slightly out of the thing. But I was just taking these on the iPhone and giving myself a bit of foreground interest there. And again, another one with the river just meandering down to the sea. And then and we also the Chance Causeway we did at that time as well. So we're lucky with good strong clouds, light coming through, giving us lots of different things to do. And on the way back, Joe and the other guys were fairly fit, but I suffer from a bit of asthma. And at that holiday, I was having a bit of problem with breathing, and I'd already been down to the beach and climbing back up the sand dunes just took it out of me too much. So on the last beach we were visiting, I let the three of them go on and I stayed at the top. And I took some photographs from the top, but then I thought, oh, it's getting very wet. I walked back to the car and I heard a noise behind me as I was walking back over these fields. And there was a herd of sheep following me, about 40, 50 sheep. And so anyway, I got to the fence, climbed over, and I was at the car, and I looked back over, and there was this small group of sheep just looking at me. So I took the photograph and then turned it into that sort of like painterly style. I will say one thing that I've sold about 4 or 5 copies of that. I think mostly to farmers, but I was going down well. And that's a portrait I did of Joe while he was over here. Simple window light, no big problem with it at all. Now, other things this is an early one. And again, the Titanic building, it had been built. I was visiting a friend, and as I came out of their premises, I looked across the road and I just see the Titanic building above the old drawing offices. Those drawing offices where all the plans were drawn up for the Titanic, the Olympic, and many, many other big ships. At that time, it was derelict. I have a series of photographs of it, of the interior, but I just really liked the way that sort of looked. And I really just added textures to it and a wee bit of colouring into it. I can't remember it may have been Hipstamatic, but I can't remember for certain. I think it was actually when I look at the border on it now. But one thing about it was the Titanic, those two protruding ends of the Titanic building, they were really the height the Titanic and the Olympic were in the stocks when sitting there being built, and that was the height they went to. When you compare the Titanic now to the big ships, it was quite small, but it was big in its day. Here's another wee one. This is a local park, and again, as local swings, and I liked the light when I was taking it, but then I added some textures and everything else. These are the times when I'm still thinking about, you don't have the same quality we have nowadays. So you tend to use textures a lot and everything else, maybe to hide some of the inherent defects in the images. Now, this one here was not taken on the iPhone, but it was taken on, I think, my Nikon. But we had a place in Spain for a number of years, and in one of the local towns, there was a fiesta going on, and we had the dancing going on and everything else. And as I was taking photographs, I noticed the principal dancer looking out, keeping an eye on the other girls to see everything was going right. And I just grabbed that shot, and I then imported it into my phone and then added the textures that I wanted to match up and everything else. As like I said before, I don't use Photoshop or Lightroom. In fact, I never really use Lightroom at all. I use Lightroom mobile, but I don't use Lightroom. And I use Photoshop basically if I have an image I want to print. I will put it into Photoshop, check it over to make sure, resize it to the size I want, and I'll print it from Photoshop. But generally, there's nothing ever done in Photoshop. If I do see a wee fault or a wee hair or something like that, or a mark that I don't like, I would take it out. But generally, all processing done on the phone. Oh, and this is the one I was saying to you about. This is the competition, the BIPP, and it won the top prize in the fine art competition. And that was the picture. It's actually a slight variation on the one you saw earlier. And all these pictures had been up on the wall at the photography show. And my good friend, Kevin Wilson, he came along and he said, I've seen all these pictures. What are you doing with them? I said, I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking about it. He says, build up a fellowship, a panel for fellowship. He said, that all those are fellowship pictures. And I thought, wow, that's something. So anyway, I thought about it and I went home and I started playing around with it a wee bit. And I ended up doing this panel. And this is the very first iPhone fellowship panel. People have told me it's the first in the world. Nobody's argued with me. Maybe somebody else had got it before me. I don't know. I'm not really worried. But anyway, all these pictures here, now the bulk of them were taken on the iPhone. 2 or 3 weren't, but they were all processed on the iPhone. And you'll probably see a few more as we come along here. So that got me that, and very luckily with that one there, I also got the Peter Grushin Award again. And I'm the first person ever to get it twice in the history of the BIPP. So I was more than delighted to get that. And there it was. That was the iPhone art, and I was very lucky to get an honorary fellowship from BIP as well. Right, we're at 7:53. I don't know whether you want to stop about now. I'm not sure. I can't even remember how far I have to go myself now. Or do you want me to continue on for a moment or two?
Yeah, shall we go up to 8 o'clock, Gerry, and then we'll stop dead on 8?
Stop.
Yep, give it another 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay, right.
Yep, brilliant. Thank you.
No problem. Right. Whenever I'm traveling around, I'd like to say I've just always got my eyes open to see what there is. Now, my wife and I were in northern Spain, Asturias region, in a wee place called Llanes. Now, Bilbao, and then along the coast type of thing. And in the Basque country, it's brilliant area, fabulous landscape area and everything else up there. But we're wandering around where we were staying and some of the back streets, some of the old houses, and I just love this old balcony peeling away, falling apart almost. And I just like the balcony for itself. Wasn't worried about anything else, the walls or anything else. I just like the balcony. And this one here is in the same town. It was a wet night. We're walking around and we passed this cinema. It was closed, derelict. And we walked past it, and I walked about 10 paces, and then I said to my wife, hang on a minute, whoa, there's a picture here. And then I walked back again, and I took that photograph. Now, the colours have been enhanced from the original, which were a bit dull, but that's all really that's been done with it. Nothing much else done with it at all. And what I like to take and what I like to do, and the small things, I like picking up context, I like textures, I like finding images and everything else. And again, wet streets, reflections, picking these things out. Nothing done with that whatsoever. I just love the idea of the broken wheel left there, and the rest of the bike has been stolen. But I just really like that idea. But I did absolutely nothing with it. Social record, that's all. And again, the textures like this, where some of the boats in one of the harbours not far from us, and that one there was. I just like the colours and the green things and things falling down. I love this one here because it's when you look at it, you think it's 3D, but it's all been painted on that wall to give a 3D effect. But I really like the look of that. And then it's all scuffed, and we've got the extractor fan area there. And I just think that brought that all together quite nicely. And again, another one going for more or less an abstract type image. Very simple. I've done nothing with that. There are probably a lot of things I could do with it, but I just left it as it was. And that's a very old one, actually, a Coca-Cola sign somewhere or other. Can't even remember where. And people, when we lived in Spain, well, had our place in Spain, we used to go down to one of the local towns, have lunch, and we'll go for a wee walk afterwards. And I just saw this woman sitting there taking in the sun, and the dog saw me, she didn't. And again, just a nice wee people watching picture. Now, this wee one here is in Bangor, and it was a day there were air displays on, and with lots of red arrows and various things flying past. And I stood back and I looked at all these people on around here, and to me, there's about 6 or different stories here. If you look at the people, what they're doing, what are they thinking, to me, there's a story every way there. And again, it's just one of these things. It's like keeping your eyes open all the time. There are generally pictures everywhere. And this one here, Cypress Avenue, any Van Morrison fans will know that one from the early days. And I'd gone on a walking tour around East Belfast, and we're going to all the um, were not only musicians but poets and writers and everybody else, where they lived, what they did. And we ended up here in Cypress Avenue, and this is what um, Van Morrison wrote about from his early days, going up and down this street. And I just used that app I told you about, Auto Stitch, and they were taking all square images, and then they were just piled in to fit. It's trying to fit them all together the best way it can. The Cypress Avenue section one, it did add that in later because it just wouldn't fit in otherwise. So, right, that again, another wall, and we're just coming up to 8 o'clock. So let's see what's next. I'll finish at this one here. This is in Bangor, and High Street in Bangor. This is an old shop, literally an old. I'm going to sound wrong when I say this, an old lady shop, for two reasons. Two old women, really were in their 80s, two sisters ran it, but they also had all these very old fashioned undergarments for women. And my aunt, um, and even my mother at one point as well asked me to go and get, especially when my aunt went into a nursing home, she says, go and get me out some pairs of those knickers that they do down in that shop. So I had to go in there and get all the couple of sizes and everything else. And it was closed down for quite a while. And they're about to do, well, they're doing work, going to do work on it. But there was work going on outside, and they shoved that men at work thing into there. And I thought, well, that just more or less sums it up. So there you are. 8 o'clock, 8:01. I'll stop now for a wee while, okay?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Gerry. Well, we've seen some super images already. Really looking forward to the second part. And for those who came in a little bit late, I think you're going to do a little demonstration in the second half as well, aren't you? Using your phone and iPad and whatever you.
Sorry, say that again.
In the second half, Gerry, are you looking to do a little bit of a demonstration as well?
Yes, I will be. I'm going to go through more photographs, and then I'm going to try and show you how I might use Snapseed and a couple of other apps. They won't take that long to do, but it's just to give a demo of how you can change things around. So I must check and say I'll stop sharing.
Yep, brilliant. Well, thank you very much. So, about a 10-minute break, would you say, Gerry?
That's okay. About 10 past. Yeah.
About 10 past. Is that okay, everybody? Grab yourselves a cup of coffee, stay online, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes.
All
Thank you
right.
very much, Gerry. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Can- Uh, oh, right. Got it. Finally got it. Right. Oh, okay.
Perfect. Well done, Gerry. Thank you very much. See you
That's
shortly.
all right. Well, I hope that worked okay. I'm just trying to see where I am actually with it. See how much more I've got to talk about, but we should be okay. Oh, still got a wee bit to go. Yeah, no, it's not too bad actually. We're all right.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to grab a coffee.
All right. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Oh.
Right. Okay, how are you doing, Gerry? Are you okay, Gerry?
Yes, I'm fine, no problem. I just
Brilliant.
had to go and change my jumper. It was too warm in the picture. Hat on. So
You're living in the hot tropics over there in Ireland.
yes, I
Anyway,
know.
I think we're back to 10 past, so feel free to share your screen and start when you're
Yes,
ready.
we'll get there. And right.
See everybody's back.
Oh, and you know oh, hang on, escape. Right, sorry, haven't been sharing there for a moment. Right. Where's the share button going?
Usually down the bottom of the screen if it's a
Yeah, I
big
know
screen.
it's
Yeah.
it's not showing up there.
Just move your mouse over it, Gerry.
I know it's
Ah.
no, it's not showing up there for some reason or other. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm looking in the wrong place. That helps, doesn't it? I've got it now. Right, that's me now. See that one?
Yeah, the sign on the road of the bus, the tram.
Okay, right.
Brilliant.
I'm
I
just
think you
running
just need to
through
go
these
to play.
fairly.
I think you need to go to play, Gerry, just to fill the screen.
Sorry?
At the top of your, is there a play button at the top of your
Oh
presentation?
yeah, sorry, I haven't got. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Oh, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
That's us now.
Perfect. That's it. Perfect.
Okay,
Thank
right.
you.
As I say, taking pictures everywhere. That is in Dublin. Just like the sort of the tram line and the tram sort of showing into it. Belfast, as you know, has troubles over the years. Parts of it, like this area here, which is Shankle Road, is sort of loyalist Protestant area. Union Jacks generally all over the road, different places, and they've almost painted everything red, white, and blue. So that was actually I had Dave Wall over at the time. We were traveling around showing him, trying to give him as many grotty areas as he liked. But we're taking all these pictures and did that one, and then a closer one of the steps into that place as well. Even the curbstones are some red, white, and blue. Or if you're on the other side, there would be yellow and orange and the trickle of colours. This is what's known as the Peace Wall. And this was built really to stop the two sides fighting together. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger because they were throwing either stones or petrol bombs or one side or another. Thank goodness that's really stopped now. But, this is what had to be done in certain areas. Just to stop rival gangs or whatever throwing things about. And but on the wall, there's a lot of graffiti. Now, I just happened to pick that one. It's nothing to do with the troubles. That's more to do with comic book stuff. So, but on the wall, there are a lot of things like this here, and it's now become a tourist attraction. And what happens is that you have um, big red buses. You have black taxis, which, like the London black taxis, are used in Belfast a lot, and they give people tours. People come off cruise liners, and they can book a tour of Belfast, and it will take them up past the peace wall thing. But there's also on the other side, they'll sort of what we term it, go up the Shankill down the falls, or vice versa. and they'll give different versions of history, really, in some ways. But they're quite interesting, as well. But I took these pictures here. I did a whole series because somebody asked me to do for an online magazine a thing on love, and I couldn't figure out what to do. But I had been photographing these, and whenever you look at it, everybody's saying love, peace, everything else. So for me, that worked it out. And you can see there from all over the world, there's Canada and all of different places there, So, yep, it was quite interesting. But there's a different wall, that's Berlin, and that's just part of the wall that was left. And again, quite like that wall. Oh, we're back into a quick shot of in Marrakesh. We had to walk up this wee dark portion of alleyway. It wasn't really dark, but anyway, I had to walk up there, and I liked the graffiti at the end of the road. And just as I was about to take it, the cat walked across. So I was quite lucky with that. This one here was taken now. This is in Mexico. At the very last PTO, photo training overseas, that was ever held. And for once, I was not speaking at it, or I wasn't judging at it, or I wasn't doing anything. So I was able to enter the competition with photographs. And this is one that I took. Now, what you see, the angles going up at the top and the big balls down at the bottom, that was all part of the hotel. That was sort of underneath the stairs. And the window was there looking out. But what I started to do was I made it look as like there was water coming down from one of the fountains outside. So I added that in, water splashing off one of the balls. The birds had taken at the beach, so I added them in as well. I added the two girls in, and I added the water in as well. And that was all done on the iPhone. And another one I took, which was not taken the iPhone, but was work done on the iPhone. And these birds, crangles or something like that, they're called. I took this picture of it one day. We were having lunch. The groups of us having lunch, and I saw the bird, grabbed that shot, took it, and entered both those into the competition. And I was told afterwards that it was a toss up between the previous image and this image as to which one won. Two people had gone for the other one image. Two judges went for this image. They called in another judge, and he went for this image. It wouldn't have mattered because I would have won it if either one had been chosen. And what I did was I won a P800 Epson printer. At that time worth about 1,200 quid. So it was a nice wee win, that. Now, anybody know of the Game of Thrones? This is the Dark Hedges. Unfortunately, a lot of these trees have been diseased, and they're starting to fall down, and they're being taken down. But this is again the trip I had over with Dave Wall. But what happened was then you cannot really, well, you might be able to now, but you couldn't take that in your iPhone because you need the compression to bring all those trees together. So we're taking that there. I was getting totally soaked. It was pouring that day. And but all the leaves had come off, and we got all the lovely colours into it. This is a slightly earlier version, taken again, not on the iPhone, but I think this might even have been worked on in Photoshop. You never know, a sacrilege. But anyway, I took that one there, and that one actually was in the World Photographic Cup, and it became the best of nation. And I want to buy a Chromolux print of it, which I have hanging on my wall. So it wasn't bad. And then this is me playing around with it on the phone, trying to do an abstract version of the trees. And again, trees. I mean, we take these trees, and then you're trying to do something different. I was experimenting with different apps on this one here. This one here again is known as Rihanna's tree. Now the tree itself, big tree in the middle, has only got the branch on, as you're looking at it on the right hand side. That's all that's left of it now. It's all fallen off. But the reason it's known for Rihanna's tree is that Rihanna was over here and she was doing a video, and the farmer had a big field of barley or something or whatever it was, wheat, and it was all lovely golden. So they wanted pictures of her walking through this field, and she did. She was running through it and everything else, and they were taking pictures of her. And she threw off her jacket, and then she threw off her top. She was running through it topless. Unfortunately, I wasn't there that day, but still, it was that ever since that point, it was known as Rihanna Street. Now I live right next door to the shore. Really, 100 yards on my right. As I walk out the door, I'm on the shore and the beach, and this is one of a series of pictures I take. And what I call walking to the pub pictures. Whenever our camera club stops meeting, we meet in the local pub, about 15-minute walk, 10-minute walk from the house. And on the way, there's usually something happening or other. And there's a wee river runs down as well. And I had the camera right down on top of that, taking the photograph. And that was actually through the bridge. Now that river, normally you can't get under there. It's far too high, but it just happened to be very low at this particular point. Again, walking along the Esplanade area, beach area on the walkway, and the dark clouds, sort of grey, and like the waves coming in over the groins. So that again. And then in just like this here, a picture like this, which is just simply pattern of waves, sort of more like abstract patterns. Along the beach, again, there's a lot of windsurfing goes on. Sorry, kite surfing and windsurfing too as well. Just happened to be a lovely big rainbow that day as well. And this one here was I don't think you can just about see the guy in it somewhere down there. But anyway, I was got that shot and a wee bit of the rainbow. And I thought I held on too long because by the time I'd finished taking that, rain started, totally soaked getting back home. Now, portraiture. Back to my portraits again. I like taking people in the street, but I don't like normally take them without them knowing. I normally go up and have a chat with them. And this was in Berlin. I saw this old guy and he's out there begging a bit and he's out and I went down and talked to him. And he's like most people, great English, and everything else. So I told him what I was after and what I'd like to do. And he said, yeah, no problem. And so that was the photograph I took of him. Just loved his face, thought it was good. But that's what I turned it into. Again, just working on the phone, just trying to get and getting those textures and things into it. This is a guy, and this is Cuba. And again, it wasn't taking the iPhone, but imported into the iPhone. I really did mess up. Look at that shadow right across his face. I love the face, but oh dear, did I give myself trouble? So I started working on it and I've got it so far and I got that, but there's still that shadow coming down. And I thought, no, I've got to work a bit more. And eventually I got it like that. So basically I got rid of that shadow and got everything else. Again, totally on the iPhone. This wee woman in Cuba, again, took her photograph. She was asking for money at places where we had stopped. And so I took the photograph and gave her some coins and got that photograph of her. And this is in Morocco again, in Marrakesh, a bus driver. And they were going up to a Berber village in the mountains. And I thought, that's a great face. So I said, can I take his photograph? He was quite surprised. I wanted to take his photograph. But anyway, did that and very happy with it. And again, in Marrakesh, this is a guy playing with my guitar, a local instrument. And I only got one shot of him looking at the camera and that one tooth of his as well. But it was a super shot. And this was back into Bologna again. Wife and I were having lunch and we just finished and I saw this guy walking along the road and I thought, oh, there's a photograph there. So I asked him to take his photograph and I did. I got that. It was quite a bit actually to get. If you saw the original, trying to tone down all those background bits, everything else. That was quite a job to get it, but I worked at it. Again, this is back to Mexico again. A group of bikers came in. They're invited in. They're all very friendly guys. And so I did a series of photographs of them as one of the better ones. And this is a local guy. See him often in the coffee shop. And he said, "Look, I want to do your portrait." You do, yeah, certainly. So he was just sitting outside the cafe and just did that. And sorry, just got that one there of him. Good character face. And Trevor Yerbury was over one time, so I did a picture of him using the what was it? The oh dear, it'll come to me. I'll think about it in a moment. And anyway, I put in a panel of all those pictures into the BIPP, and again of all the images. Maybe one that actually got it, maybe very slightly different to this, but anyway, I got the fellowship for 2020. I was going to put it in a better, slightly better version of this into the RPS, but a couple of people said no. A bit of advice and said no, it wouldn't make it, so I didn't bother. I love taking photographs of things to say, graffiti and different things like that. And this is just a poster in Sicily, in Palermo. And this is a lamppost with all the torn bits and pieces paper off them. I like collage a bit too as well. Not too abstractly, but I like collage. And this is a collage of one of the women I took that was possibly going into the panel. And I just used 2 or 3 other images and tore them up and added them to that picture. And here's the one I did of the cube houses. I wanted to do something nobody else, as far as I know, had done. Maybe other people have. But so I cut it all up and I just started joining it all together. And that basically is my version of the cube houses. And this is actually I was considering trying to do a panel on the Guggenheim outside. Now, these weren't iPhone pictures because I couldn't zoom in enough to get all the detailed bits wanted and everything else. But I did all these ones here and I was thinking of doing it. But in the end, I decided I didn't think the panel was strong enough. So I just never bothered putting it in for anything. But what I did was I started cutting up all the pictures and using them as collages. So we're getting abstract collages here as well of the Guggenheim. There are 3 different types of ones. I was trying everything in that Guggenheim, colours, different thing to try and get something different. This one here was that actually a digital collage of the Guggenheim and worked on it. And this one here is a physical collage. In other words, these are all strips and then they've been repositioned and everything else to give you the more abstract sort of look about it. And this one here is a collage of all the waves one time I was taking as I went walking along, and I just cut them all up into wee squares, put them down at random and wherever I fancied, just to give a different sort of look about it. And I've even tried a 3-dimensional version of that just to see what I can do with it. It works actually quite well. And that there was the picture that I used, cut that all up into squares. And this is using, I'm going to talk a wee quickly about, now I was using what nowadays was everybody using ICM. And I tend to use slow shutter for a lot of my ICM. And I tend to like light trail of that, whereby it's lots of wee pictures rather than a smooth one. But I've done both, and you'll see that as we come along in a moment. This is one taken on Costa de la Luz, Spain, and these guys were coming along the beach, kite surfing festival, And again, it was slow shutter, not too slow, but just enough to blur it slightly. And this here's now your more true ICM. This is again Ballyholme Beach, and I've just panned it, and that one there was using the motion blur, and it gives lovely soft. I mean, there's some people out there who do fabulous stuff like this here. You know, really, really good stuff. And again, Ballyholme Beach, the tide was way out. We've got all the seaweed to the front, and then the bit of beach, and then the blue, and then County Antrim behind that as well. So again, and then this is one again, slight motion walking to the pub picture, and then a texture added to it as well. This is walking home from the pub when the lights have gone down, and but it gives it quite a good effect right across the harbour. And again, that looks like a pile of yachts. I mean, we're pointing at the yacht club here, but that just looks like a yacht race going on. And this one here again, and it's a wee bit lighter, but looking towards the same area, moving the camera more to give a more abstract sort of feel to it. And that one there was those four wee boats were out. That was taken pretty well, not too middle of the day maybe, or afternoon, something like that. And again, the textures added it to give that bit extra. Seagulls so on the shore, just as they take off as I get close. And this one here was I would term a lucky shot, two seagulls flying along there. And again, sorry, excuse me. Again, using light trail, and I just happened to capture those two birds, and you can see there all the movement and everything else into these here. Their movement, and I don't know how long the shutter was going for, 1 second or something like that, but it worked out quite an abstract wee image. Local here in a park in centre of Bangor, and again, not a lot of movement in this here, but just enough to sort of distorted that wee bit from the original. The trees were done with a bit of ICM, and then I added textures into it. And one of the textures had a sort of like leafy look about it, so I quite like that one as well. This one here, totally different, no movement at all. Very quickly, this was I can remember where it is. Anyway, we were Figueres, and we were there, and we had visited in Catalonia, and that's right. And we went up to the church, and coming back from the church, I glanced down and saw this nun in a very old-fashioned habit, and I thought, oh, that's great, and I rushed down. And it was in the early day phone, I had to open the phone, type in my password or number, and before I could get it operating, then open the thing up. But I managed to get it. She's just about to walk in. Just got her just before she walked in. Now in Barcelona, my mates will tell me I have a bad habit of following women around. But it's all in the name of art, honestly. So this is here in, Bilbao, not Barcelona. Wet day, but I thought there's possibilities here. And so I turned that one into sort of more a painterly, abstract sort of image. And that one actually has also been a book cover lately. This is Belfast. I was just experimenting with a different app to see what I could get out of it. People thought I was photographing the city hall, so they didn't pay any attention to me. This one here is the one I prefer. Somebody said more like a Monet or something like that, which was very flattering. But I quite like the colours of that one. This is Paris. Wife was in a shop, and I saw this woman walking along with a red umbrella. I thought, there's got to be a picture here. Again, I was using slow motion before it became ICM. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm ahead of my time. It's just to get my painterly sort of feeling about things. That's what I was using. And I never had heard of ICM that time. I told all my friends another one of my blurry pictures. So And again, this one here, I think this was in Paris at another time as well. And this was in Belfast. The woman in the coat with a yellow handbag or shopping bag. And again, I like the feel of that. This is back in Marrakesh, these three guys talking away. But I sort of turned it almost so that they were almost blocks of colour. And then I added the coloured texture in on top of that again. And again, this one here, I can't remember, it's Marrakesh, I think, somewhere. And put in the sun, and then I put in the reflection as well. And again, this one here is back in the Guggenheim, outside the Guggenheim, sheltering from the rain. And that was sort of just decided black and white with a few hand drawn lines around it as well. And this is Sicily. Went to Sicily for a nice sunny break, and we had about 5.5 days of rain, almost constant. Hardly got any sun at all. But we're sitting having coffee, and I started photographing people as they passed by. Again, using the slow shutter app onto that there. Again, part of the party we were going around to the various places with, and that was sort of following them. And at one point, actually, this is really abstract. What had happened was that my wife and I, we were sharing a very small umbrella. She didn't want to slip, so she was also holding on to my right arm, and I'm holding the umbrella. And I've got the phone in my left hand, and I'm trying to take photographs with a phone, so I'm clicking the shutter just to go along. But I quite like the abstract look of it. We were in Cos recently, so again, a bit of slow shutter onto that there, and then added texture onto the top of it. Now, this one here is Donaghadee Lighthouse. It's about 5 miles down the road from us, 4 or 5 miles down the road. And I was away, very, very far away. And normally they say this is the iPhone 12. So I only had, was it three times zoom? But you can go on to optical zoom. Now, if you want top quality, you don't use optical zoom. But I was doing this as I knew what it was going to be, ICM type picture. So it was all going to be messed up anyway. So I thought, I'm not going to worry about that. So I took that and it's very, very much the way it is, cropped very slightly, but very much the same way as it is. And this actually is just taken from the window where I'm talking to you now. If I looked out my window, these are the houses there. All those houses there face the sea, and I'm looking into the back of them. A fence at the bottom. You've a garage, blue garage, a roof, and then you've got the back of the houses coming out as well. But again, that was used. That was ICM, and then watercolor added to it, and various things added to it. Now, this wee one here, this is one of the ones I'm going to show another one, but let's see what you can do with using a picture. There was two women on their horses, and I just got down in time to way down there, and I could see she'd run all the way up the beach, and I just knew where I wanted her to be when she came back. Came at Donaghadee, and just got her in between the two pier ends, but this is what I turned it into, and that basically was coming out of Snapseed and things like that. So you can do an awful lot with it. This one is the one I will demonstrate to you, but this will give you an idea of what happened. This again is northern Spain, and I'd seen this church, but there's never a tide in at all, and so. But I was able to do that with it, and play around with it a wee bit. So I was getting things like that. And again, whenever I go away, we were in Cos, and this is a view across the to Albania across the way. And so that was a straight shot. But that there is this one with slight movement. And then I start adding in different textures, different looks to it, to try and come up with something that I think might work quite well, you know. And again, all these are giving me different looks and everything else. So that at the moment more or less covers most of the pictures there that we're going to be we've talked about. If you want to see more about iPhone stuff, the app Whisper, that's brilliant too. Lots of things on there, and biggest iPhone or mobile phone website, I think, in the world. They've got everything on there and lots of good tutorials. If you want to see how to do some super editing of on Snapseed, Nav Edits official, go to him. YouTube tutorials. He's very good. I'm not sure where he's from actually. I've never found that out yet, but he does some fabulous stuff. And you know, so it really does work exceptionally well. And then Brad Drew does a lot of stuff as well. So they're people that I think you should, you know, get to look at. And that basically, it says .co.uk, but it's not. It's not UK. That I have to change that. I don't know what. I think I changed it to .uk and forgot to take out the co in that as well. So so it's iPhone art.uk, Instagram, co iPhone art, and Facebook. So basically, I think. Oh, that's it. I'll stop share. Right.
Fabulous, fabulous, Gerry. Thank you very much. Some marvelous, marvelous work there. There were a couple of questions. If I could just, it was very early on, so I can't see them now. Where are the questions? There was one about the battery. Here we are. They're there. So these were very early on, Gerry. So you might have answered some of them. But one of the questions was, if you go out all day on a shoot, how do you keep the battery charged up on the iPhone?
Oh well, on the early iPhone, certainly I would have a separate battery pack. So sometimes I would have just a wee small bag, and in that I'll have a battery pack. So with a longish lead. So just whenever it's looking to be a bit low, plug it in and it charges it up. You know, it's not a problem. But that's the easy way to do it. Don't worry about. In fact, there's some. I have a better grip for the iPhone, so you've got a big grip, and it will actually charge the iPhone as well. You know,
Oh,
so
right,
there
okay.
are different ways of doing these things. Yeah, but I've still got all my wee battery packs, and I use those.
Fabulous, thank you. The next question was they've tried clamping a neutral density filter lens onto the rear lens, but they don't seem to be compatible. The iPhone lens seems to fight against the neutral density filter. Have you found that?
Sorry, with the filter, what with
Yes, I'll just reread the question. So the attendee says, I have tried clamping a neutral density filter lens onto the rear lens, but they don't seem to be compatible. The phone lens seems to fight against them.
well, I have never used any other lenses on my phone, but I know there are people who do use them. Is that what you mean?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
Flynn Juice is using a lot of filters with lenses. So in other words, on my phone here, just these three lenses. That's all I use. That's all I've got.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've got a Samsung phone. That's my query. The size of the lenses you buy is probably about an inch diameter. They're not big enough to cover all the three lenses on the back of the phone. And what I find is that the camera's trying to, I'm trying to take a slow or long exposure.
Yes.
It lets some
No,
light out of lens. So I put this MD50 filter on the back, and all the lenses seem to it jumps around from one to the other, and I can't get the
Yeah.
on lens to match up with the right lens. And it sounds a bit weird, but it's just how it is. I just can't use them.
Using supplementary lenses. Like I say, I've never used them. I was given a set years and years ago, but I couldn't be bothered carrying around another set of lenses. To stick on. Quite honestly, I'd say 95% of the time, I can get what I want out of what's on this phone now. On my new, this is the 15, but the 12 was the same. The 10 I could have done with a bit more of a telephoto and things like that. But fitting other lenses on, I don't know. I'm totally not sold yet on it. I know Clint Joyce, when I was talking to him about lens, he was talking about one. I think it was a telephoto or something, and he adds that on, and that's giving you about, I don't know, if you put that on the telephoto, I think it was giving you about was it 400, 450 mil, which is fine up to a point. But the argument is, like, unless you're on a tripod, the argument against that slightly is that if you have these, you definitely need them on a tripod. Anything 10 times, and your hand's going to shake. So you really need tripods for an awful lot of those things, and that's not what I want. I want flexibility to use these. Sorry, I hope that answered your question. I'm not sure whether I'm getting that right or not.
I just wondered actually, Gerry, with some cameras you can actually get a built-in neutral density filter now. Is there an app on the iPhone which allows you a neutral density filter?
Neutral density. There are neutral density filters. Yes. I mean, you can get a fitting that will fit on top of this, and then you can fit filters onto it. And if you want to get really, really long exposures, yes, you can do that. Okay. And you can with again using tripod, long exposure, same as you would with a big camera. So yes, you can. There are fittings for it all.
Yeah, super. Thank you. Well, we've got another couple of questions, but shall we go on to your demonstration now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What I'm going to do now? Right. I'm going to. Just getting the phone on here.
Yep.
Then always takes a second.
No problem.
Right, I'm on. Yeah, you can see that okay now, right?
Yeah,
so
it's just screen mirroring. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So hold do. One thing I'm going to show you very quickly. This is my main screen. So if I go onto here, this is showing you the camera. Now, I don't use all these, but these are the cameras that I have handy. Hipstamatic at the top, slow shutter. Reflex is a very good camera, and it'll do slow shutter and things like that as well. Down at the bottom, you've got Reheld, which will mean you can hold the phone. If you hold it fairly steady, you'll get a 5-7 second exposure without a problem. Average Cam Pro will give you lots of exposures there. There's other ones on the others. I'd really keep them here, but I don't use them that much. For double exposing things, photo split down at the bottom, that's quite good. So if you want to add more textures and extra photographs on something, you can do it on that. And the others there as well. Retouch, my main one is Snapseed down the bottom there. You've also at the top left there, Retouch. I use that one for a lot of retouching rather than the Snapseed Magic Eraser, which I think is a wee tiny bit crude, but retouch is extremely good. I also use occasionally Lightroom and any other darkroom. Image Blender is very good for bringing a couple of pictures together. Again, on here, handy photos. That's one I use actually because sometimes the borders, when you do a border, sometimes it's cropped in on the picture, whereas handy photo does frames and borders, and it doesn't. It adds the border to it, so it's quite good as well. Um, Retouch too, other ones here. You'll see in the middle there, reflect. I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. And then all different ones I use for different things. iColorama S, by the way, is very good, very big program, lots of things in that. Let's see. Again, there's other wee ones here. That's mainly on Instagram. And by the way, if anybody's doing enlargements, on your phone, I find both that image resize and smart resize. But smart resize I quite like because when you open that up, you can resize it twice or 4 times. And I've checked it up against resizing it in some of the big apps that we have on our computers. And believe you me, I can hardly tell the difference. Now, I'm sure somebody will turn around and tell me there is a difference, but I can't see very much of it. I find it works very, very well, and that's working on your phone. I use a lot of grungy apps here. Distressed FX is one I use a lot. Mixtures again, and some of the others, formulas, but others I use bit by bit. There's different ones here, hard to go into all of them. Arty apps, these are the ones that I would use for creating art. A lot of the ones you saw of Cuba were the cars, that was using the repicks. So you've got all these brushes down at the bottom. The one I tend to use, I like the best, is the chalk brush. So if you're using chalk brush, that's what it does to your image. And then you can actually, if you want detail back into it, you can do undo, and that brings back detail where you want it. So you can play around with that quite a bit, and that'll give you your nice sort of look. The other one is brushstroke, aquarel, impresso, artist oil. They all work differently. There are a lot of them are by the same company, but they work really well. A lot of these others, I just pick them up as I go along. Paint can, that's actually quite good too as well. So there's I do abstract, by the way. Tiny Planet Circular, the one you saw of the building with the water into it, that's available. They're available there as well. So right, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let's see, where am I here? And make sure what I'm doing right here. Right, I'm going to Snapseed, and I'm going to this one here. So I'll turn it on its side. Now, what you've got on this one here is, like I say, it's very dull and very slight blueness about it almost. But what you can do here with it, there's a lot of things. Now, first of all, the wee double half circles at the top, if you open that up, that gives you a range of things you can automatically do, smooth, and that'll give you a starting point. Now, to me, that there has improved the sky slightly. There's a bit more contrast into it. That's the pop filter. So that works quite well. You could go down to, black and white, but I would tend to leave the black and white and maybe go to something else as well. But I'm going to start with the pop one anyway. What you do is click on that, and then the wee tick, that's it done. Put those away again. Now, in Snapseed, you have an awful lot of things to choose from here. And it's like a mini Photoshop in ways, but it's obviously nowhere near as sophisticated. And even Lightroom Mobile is a bit more sophisticated than this, but I quite like to use this. And if I have to go to Lightroom Mobile, I'll use that as well. So using that, by the way, I'm touching the wee, you see, blue pencil there. That's what moves that in and out. And I'm going to go to tune image. Now, the way to do it is your finger up and down. So if I put my finger on here, you get all these different things: contrast, saturation, ambience, highlights, shadows, and warmth at the bottom. So what we'll do is your brightness, I'm going to take it down a wee tiny bit, and then I'm going to that saturation. Well, keep it about. I'll give it a wee bit extra, and ambience. Uh, go that way. It's bringing the sky back a bit, but you can replace the sky. I'll show you that again in a moment. Um, highlights, you can highlights are down or up, but it's burning out the sky too much if you do that. And if you want a wee bit warmer or cooler, so I'll have it a wee tiny bit warmer. Then what you can do is I can go in here and I'll move on to other things in a moment. But what I'm going to do is put in here double exposure. So what I can do now is down the bottom left, underneath the picture, there's a wee picture with a plus. So I'm going to add plus, and what I'm going to do is right there, like that. Now that has brought in a sky, but the sky is covering everything there. You can move it around. You can do what you want with it, big or small like that. But it's covering everything. So what I need to do now is if that's in there, I click OK. Now, at the very top, you see like two sort of pages with an arrow on them. If you open that up and then you go to View Edits, hit there. This shows you everything that I've done so far. So now I've got the double exposure, but I want to go in here. I want to adjust things here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the brush. And if I do that, bottom blue, see down there in the bottom left, that's the picture. That's with the thing on top. Now I am using a wee small stylus here. You can use your finger, but I'll show you maybe see anyway. A wee stylus there. It's now you can zoom in and out on this here, but down the bottom here, that's taken away everything that was there with the clouds. So come back up here a bit. We're going to get a wee bit more detail. If you go over a wee bit in the sky, don't worry too much. That can be fixed. Take that all back down there. So we're going right the way across. So what you can do is there's areas I haven't got yet. You can use your finger on this as well, so. Right. I'm just trying to get it this up at the very top here. So come in here. Thought it wasn't clearing it there for a moment. No. Now we're taking away. Right. I think that's most of it. Oh. They're trying to be very good to me here. Okay. I know. Right. There you can see now the way I've got that. I am working quickly here so that you can see that I can play around. The wee brush there, whenever you have different things here, you can either discard hitting the bin, or you can use double exposure. So you can use different things on here to move it around a bit if you want. So like that. So I mean, if you move that up there like that, it doesn't have to cover the whole thing because you're getting rid of it, so it doesn't really matter too much. And so we'll just leave it as it is. Right, so that's like basically got the sky in. Now we'll go back again. Now what I want to do is in this particular picture, and you'll see the reason why later. You can perspective there, but you've also got expand. So if I am going, this is smart expand. So I bring that down. I'm not worried whether it's accurate or not. I just want more space at the bottom. So that's giving me, all right, that's giving me a bit more space. So click that, that's okay. So basically, if we've got that very, very roughly correct, there's other things to be corrected into it, but we'll come back to that afterwards again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this and save a copy. So that's going out. Right. Now, what I'm going to do now is close that down. Now, I'm going to reflect. Oh, stop telling me that. I know. Go ahead. Reflect. Photos. Now that's the. So what I'm doing here now is you'll see in a second is that's that. Right here we have a range of things that can be added to it. Water. So what I can put water into it here. So that's getting roughly like that. But then if a whole pile of types of water, you can run through a whole range of different things. You can adjust these. Choppy water. You can move on. You've got an ocean. So many things you can add in here. You've got ice. I know it's see that's smooth ice, yes. That's cracked ice. Fractured. Move on again. And you've got even put a wood floor in if you want somewhere there. Not actually the right thing to do here. So we're going to go back to the very beginning here. Oh, sorry. I'm going to have to stop that. Right, so what I've done here is now I put in that there, but I'm going to do something else as well. Down the bottom right it says FX mode. So if I go into that, you can see the dotted lines where my thing is. So you can also do fit a moon in, the sun. You can do like that. So you can have a hot air balloon or birds. So say you've got the birds in there, so that's something okay. So we'll go back again. And then, so now you see the birds being reflected as well. We'll go to FX again, effects, and this time, where's the one I want? No, let's see. One more. There was one more there, I've lost it. Oh, that's one thing. I can add a bit of colour into it. Sorry, folks. Add a bit of colour into it, so you get warm it up a wee tiny bit as well. And right, back into here again. Fog. You look along the edge, there are 3 fogs, and you can put those in. So you get a wee tiny bit of fog in there. And that sometimes if you've got a line that's maybe you're not too sure about, you can put a wee bit of fog and that will help that one as well. Well, I'm looking for one particular thing here and I can't find what I'm after. It's not showing up at the moment. No. You can edit these effects, by the way, as well. So just to let you know. Right, preset. Oh, I think maybe it's at the end of these. I haven't gone far enough. This is what I wanted. So what you can do in down here, you can bring in the rocks. So you've got that or that. So you can put that in there as well. So again, like I say, we're moving that up and down just into that area, and you've got those rocks. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to save that. Save that one. Right, that's when the camera roll. Now what I'm going to do now is again go into Snapseed, open from device, open this one. So now it's starting to look totally different. We've got something with it. Again, we can still play with it a wee bit here, and we can tune image. We can do the see. I think the shadows, bring them up a wee tiny bit like that. It's not too bad. Right. So now that's fine. Now what I'm going to do is now to make sure the whites are nice and bright. So we'll go in here. Sorry, I'll turn it this way. It'll be easier maybe. And see down the bottom there's a plus. So I hit on that plus, which is blue at the moment, and then hit in here. Hang on. Right. What I want to do is get in here. Now I've got that on there. Now by using two fingers, you can see what is affecting. So you really want to have it just down, if affecting just a small area that you're interested in. And again, use my finger up and down. You have brightness, contrast, saturation, and structure. So you go to brightness. That's bringing the white up quite nicely. Now I'm quite happy with that. So say copy it. I put my finger on the top of it, copy it, and then if I hit over somewhere else, paste, again use your two fingers to bring it down so it's only affecting the areas that you want. So that's bringing up that a bit whiter, and then right, stop that, come up here, and what I'm going to do is paste it in there, but bring that right.
Gerry, what tool was that in?
Sorry?
Which specific tool was that you using?
Sorry, I'm sorry, I can't hear that.
Which specific tool in Snapseed is that function?
Snapseed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, but which
I'll show you.
tool?
I'll show you when I come back to it. Okay, I'll show you where it is. Bring that right the way down just to do the building. Right, and that's that one. And then maybe you could also put it in here and bring it down. Now you can brighten that up a wee bit more if you want. The other thing you can do is you can put it, say, onto the red, paste it on the red, so you can get a brightener, but you can also saturate the red. So it's bringing just the reds, really saturate them, and again up on the roof there, paste it, bring that right the way down, and saturation up like that. So right, that's okay. Now once we've got all that down, I can hit the way down the bottom right, not the tick mark, but the other thing. I can hit that and see it without the all those things. And I like what I say. I can always go back to it. Anyways, that's that. So that's how that's lifted that quite a bit and totally changed that picture. Now the sky's a bit over the top, but generally it's okay. You were asking where that thing is. See where it says selective here? Second row down over on the right. Can you see that?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one, but I'm not familiar with the actual how you did the copy and paste bit.
How do I I'm sorry, I've got bad hearing and I don't hear things. I've got new speakers here. They're actually better than what I had, but I still don't get everything. Sorry. Say again.
I know that tool, and I thought I knew how to use it, but I didn't know how to use that copy and paste function within it.
What the copy? What of the first one? Is that what you mean?
It's the
Right.
copy and paste function. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to use it.
Right. So let me say I'm going to pick something on the green. You see that? And I can brightness, right, or darken that. Now, if I want to say copy that, put my finger on it, right, and copy, and then move my finger over to the far side and tap it there, paste, and that puts it in there. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really to copy and paste. What you're actually doing is you tap on the actual one. Say like that one's live now, the one on the right. So if I tap on that, I can copy that one or reset it or cut it or delete it or anything like that. So I hit copy, and then wherever I put that, paste it, and then you pinch it to get the area you want. So that maybe lighten that up a wee bit that time. So basically, that's really copy and paste by using your finger. Okay,
Thank you.
okay, right now. One last thing on this one here is I've done all that, and that's just to show you really some of the things. But there's so many things on this here. One of the ones I like to use as well. The first row down the bottom or near the bottom is vintage. So you have a range of filters here, and you can run through these, and these will give you different looks. And I find sometimes these actually are very good. The one I like the best generally is that one, although it's making that one a wee bit dark. So maybe come back a wee bit onto something else. But these filters anyway will to me in a lot of cases sometimes will finish something off for you. I'm going to leave it at that. But I can adjust that. See the brightness. I can brightness, saturation, style strength, stronger or weaker, and net strength.
Gerry, before you leave that, Gerry, one of the questions is how do you get a painterly edge? You know, the crackly edge around the images. What app would you use for this image to give yourself a frame around it?
Yeah, to get sort of like the painterly edge on it. Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Right, let me see very quickly. I'm going to save that. Okay. I've saved that one. Save a copy. Let me.
There's a tool on Snapseed for frames. You can get.
Hang on. Let's see. Yeah, there's frames down at the bottom here. So what you can do with those? I was looking for other ones, but say you go for that one. Now, by using, so this is the problem. See the way it cuts in on the picture?
Yep.
That's why I tend not to use that. I would sometimes use different programs, but if what you could do with that is you'd expand the edges slightly to allow for it coming in, but it's a bit thing. But I mean that's okay. That still works, Your frames, that's the black frames. You have white frames too. So you've got all these different frames that you can use. One of the other things I have used, I've mentioned, is if you go to can never find the things I'm looking for. Half. I'll get there. Most of these can work quite well. I think Hapsomatic, you can import that into that, and that'll give you a lot of frames as well. Let's see if that'll work. I'm not sure if it will. Hapsomatic, right? Bring in. Maybe we'll take. So what will. Right. So what to do is you do have a lot of these things I haven't added in here. You get hypnotic effects, but I'm not seeing a frame onto it. No, so don't worry about that. Let's see if I can find what I was looking for here.
Yeah.
One last one. And then, that's the easy way, isn't it? Not not showing up there. I thought it would. Anyway, I remember saying to you about it.
You did. You mentioned it earlier on, didn't you? One
Yeah.
which just puts the frame around it. So it'll be here on the recording.
Yeah. One other thing, by the way, just while I'm on it, see that one there, video to photo. See if you do a short video, and like I do with grandkids running around or something like that, then it's great for getting pictures. I'm not giving you high end, but it's great for getting pictures out of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Handy photo, Gerry, you mentioned for frames.
Yeah.
That was it. You just gone past it. That's it.
Wait,
Top left.
what was that?
Handy photo you mentioned for frames.
Yes. Yes. No, that was. Yeah, it was hand. I've lost it somewhere along here, and I've gone and lost it. Anyway, what I would tend to do for some of those frames, oh dear me, Gerry, why can't you find them? Right, it must be here somewhere. They sometimes when you're looking for these things too fast,
Yeah.
and it doesn't come out at all. But I've used.
Is it that one there? Is it that one there, Gerry? Yeah.
Finally, so we'll take that one. Right, top the hand at the top here, and move that around, and take your magic frames. So that's cutting in on it actually. But, yeah, maybe I've got mixed up in this one here. It is cutting in on it a bit. There are good frames. See, like that.
Yeah.
That'll give you the sort of thing you're maybe looking for. There are others. I'd have to come back on that one again.
That's okay, Gerry. Thank you. There were just two final questions, Gerry.
I know everything, only some of it.
Yeah. I think we saw textures in that handy photo. Is that where you put your textures on with handy photo?
Sorry, the what? Not the.
When one of the other questions is about your favorite app for textures and other effects. Is that
Yes. Okay.
the handy photo again?
Right. I'm going to show you that again. What we'll do is I'm going into grunge distressed FX. You see there, that's what I tend to use a lot. So if I am going into, let's see, I'm going to take a different picture here. Something I might. Let's see. Actually, you can see there my grandson in the middle there. Those ones were taken and then textures added to it, So, but all right, let's see. This is a straight photograph here and go into there. And if along the bottom here of that, you've got all these different ones, and you have a lot more than this. But if you click on that top row, that's giving you more or less your color, what sort of tonal range and things like that, going along like that. And you can play around, that can be brightened up. You've got more texture in that one. And then you've got, so let's pick one. I'm going to cut that off, whatever it is, you know. So let's say I picked that one there, and if it's not bright enough, you can brighten it up a bit and put more contrast into it, coloration more or less, so you can play around. You can also shorten at the top here. Now the bottom row will give you more grungy textures that will go onto it. Actually, I don't like that blue one because you can't really see. Right, let's try that. So now you're starting to see the textures coming into it as well. And I find this generally very, very good. Now, what you can do, is you can come along here, and if you find there's nothing in it that you really like, that's quite heavily textured, but you can play around with that. The texture, I've had it on the three bars there for adjusting. So if I bring that down, that reduces that texture a bit, and that there reduces the top line, which had the color into it. But so say that's okay now, but say you don't like that, you can switch packs. You can buy extra packs. So if I take another one, dramatic palette, that gives me another range of pictures, textures that I can put onto it and go through these here as well. And if there's nothing there, you can go right the way down all these palettes, Splat, Painter's Palette, Box of Colours, Vintage Collection. Now you do pay extra for these. They're not awful expensive, but you do pay extra for these. So you can have a whole range of those. And it's the same way with on the top here. You can go through atmosphere light. So you've got different things on that. So different things going like that. You can have beyond skies, heavens. Yes, you can get, so maybe the light coming through. I don't think that's working too well there. I don't like they don't work. So we're back to sort of this sort of thing. So, there's so many different things that you can play around with that. That's why I like that particular image. The other thing you can do, and was I'm going to brighten it a wee bit here. Sorry, this cold hasn't quite left me. Gin and tonic's lovely, you know that. Anyway, so what you can do with that, you see the wee thing there that says birds. So now I can go in there and I can put flocks of birds into it.
Right.
Up and down, whatever way you want. Or you can go with that, birds again. You can go in here and where's all the other ones here?
Is that where you get the oil painting effect from as well, Gerry?
Sorry, what they?
The oil painting effect.
Yes, yes. I mean, if you go into right, let's go back. That was for textures, but if you take out something like right, the repix one, I'll show you that one again very quickly. If I bring in my picture, recent, and let's take that one. And so there's so many brushes here, but a lot of them I don't find useful. Some do, but the chalk is the one I use first of all. And I'm just using my finger. So I can go over this here as much as I can. Take it like that. So that's covered most of the picture. I generally find, now if you come in closer, the brush size doesn't change. But if you come in closer, then it becomes finer. You get away, so you start getting a bit of detail into it again. But if you want to, I would normally take the undoer and bring back the parts of the image that I really want
Yep.
removed. So that's one of the Painterly apps. Okay, that brings it all back. So you're getting the more of the detail round where
Yep.
you are. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing something like that, brush stroke is quite good. So if I bring in something like that, and again, bring the original picture in, say it's okay, this will start giving me a whole range of watercolor type things. So you've got a whole lot there. And again, so now what I would tend to do sometimes with these is that if I find something that I like, what I will do is I I will then blend it with the original photograph, and then work out a blend whereby it's not too over painted, and and you're still getting a feel of the real picture through. So that's what I would tend to do with it. That is for watercolor. Your artistic oil, bring a photograph in again, and that starts painting, and then you're starting to get those borders around it now. Hitting on the star, it gives you a whole series of styles that you can use.
Fantastic.
So again, whatever way you want it to come out, you can do that. You can actually, there's frames into it, so you can either zoom in, zoom out. So like that, hit on the frames, and you've got a whole range of frames on it.
Yep.
So that'll give you that as well. So there's many different ways, to play around with these to get you so many different effects. That's the beauty of it. I don't
Yep.
have to sit in front of the computer. I can sit in front down, watch TV, and still push buttons. Um,
Or even edit on the way to the pub, Gerry.
what?
Or even edit
Yes.
on the journey to the pub.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
But anyway.
Okay, just one final question, Gerry. People have asked what iPhone you're currently using. What version iPhone?
I've the iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Yeah.
I just upgraded there recently, so from the 12, and I found it excellent. I like the extra bit of zoom in it. But my whole thing about sometimes these things, I'm like the rest of you guys out there. I'm a real photographer who used a big camera and everything else. And it's taken me a long time to get my head around looking at thinking this is not sharp enough, or this isn't that, or you see grain and all this sort of thing. And you have to really get all those things out of your head. You're doing something different. What you're trying to do is produce work. And I have prints I could show you that are 40 by 30 inches, all done on the iPhone, and they work beautifully. So that's my whole thing. Is it's not, as I'm sure if you good feel, it's not the camera you use, it's what you see from here.
Yeah.
What matters. And you just have to get over that hump of it has to be, the 45 megapixel, all singing, all dancing phone. Camera. It doesn't have to be that, and we can get away with it. I did one last thing. A customer came back to me. She'd got photographs done years ago, about 25 years ago, of her kids, and she came back to me and she wanted great big 40 by 30 canvases done,
Yep.
3 of them. And I looked at the original file size that I had of my Nikon at that time, I think it was. And I looked at that, and that was, I don't know, was it 20? Might have been less. But when I look at that and I look what I have on my phone now, I'm busy thinking, wow, that is really quite something. Now, I was able to get them up to 40 by 30 and it worked fine. They were perfect. But it just shows you the way what we thought were cutting edge at that time have totally changed now. So,
Brilliant.
you know, anyway, there you go, folks. I hope that was okay for you anyway.
It's fantastic, Gerry. Just a final couple of questions that have just come in. The app that you've got on your screen at the moment, what app is that, please? I missed the name of it.
Right, hang on.
Sorry.
You're okay. That one there, see down at the bottom?
Yep.
Artist
Oil.
Yeah.
A couple have said that they're struggling to find Remix. Is that a paid app? Remix? Do you remember?
Repix?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that one, Repix?
Yeah, remix they were saying, but is it it's Repix, people? I think
Repix.
it's Repix with a P.
I think
Yeah.
most now, if somebody's not on an iPhone, there are somewhat equivalent. Some things are common, but other ones aren't, and you have to find them. I used to give lectures in local tech to people, 10-week lectures, and it was trying to show people who were on Android phones and on iPhones, and it took quite a wee while for me to find out equivalents. But generally, I think there are a number of these are on okay, but I couldn't guarantee which ones. Yeah.
Well, Gerry, it's been a fantastic evening. You've given us much more than we expected. So thank you ever so much. And as you say, it's in your mind. You've really got to be creative with these, and you certainly have. You've shown us some beautiful work. So thank you ever so much. Thank you.
Thank you
And
very
as
much.
Sherry's just said, a wonderful presentation. So beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And as long as nobody got too bored, that's fine by me. You know.
Fantastic.
No, I think it was really marvellous. So,
Fantastic.
look,
Okay.
I really thank you for carrying on. You're obviously not feeling 100%.
Oh no, I'm okay. It's still just a slight cough left with me, but
Yep.
I'm all right. No, I'm okay.
No, that's brilliant. And thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining us. I hope you've had a lovely evening. And what I would say to everybody is have a lovely Christmas, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the new year. But thank you very much, and have a safe journey home. Thank you, Gerry.
Thank you very much to you.
All the best. Cheers.
I'll be
Thank
in
you very much.
touch.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. See you soon. Thank you. Good night.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.